What up, guys? Welcome back to Snatch and Scotch. We're here at the Toronto Pro Show with Swell Rex Magazine, and we're hanging out with AJ. And I've always wanted to talk to AJ. We've heard him on other shows before. You okay there, Johnny?
Don't trip and fall.
Please don't break. That's expensive bourbon. So we're here to talk to AJ just about like life, lifting, business, being a better person, crushing it.
Sure, yeah.
Right? If you guys know what AJ is, you're probably a dick.
They run in different circles, bro. That's all.
Dicks? What? Speaking of dicks, we're going to talk to a guy who has dildos at his gym, you said?
Yeah, Mark Fisher.
Yeah, Mark Fisher. It's going to be interesting. So anyway, AJ was like a crazy power lifter. Then he became like a crazy bodybuilder. And then he did CrossFit. And then you started a whole bunch of gyms. Like you helped a whole bunch of gyms become very, very successful. And then you started working with the Barbell Shrug guys, the Barbell business side of things. Yeah, so just tell us a little about your experiences and going from powerlifting and all, because you've done it all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I guess I just have ADD, like most entrepreneurs or athletes, to be honest. They get bored really easy. Like I think that's why the conjugate system works so well for me. Like a lot of people look at training and they say like, what's the right way, what's the wrong way, and I'll stand to defend conjugate against anyone. But in reality, when I start looking at it, it's like, all right, so I like variety. Like, so I like change. I get bored really easy. Yeah. So like the conjugate system just suits my personality. Like if I was a boring fuck, like, and I like to do the same thing over and over, then I'd probably do Shelko, you know, like, so, but there's people who do like that, right? There's people that like, that's their personality where they just want the same thing. They want predictable. That
it's safe.
Yeah. So with that being said, when you look at the business world, like it's exactly the same for me. Like the reason I work with a lot of like gyms and I don't just do my one thing is because I get bored.
Yeah.
And so like I like to be involved in lots of different things, and the best way to do that is as a consultant, right?
Right.
And a business that gets to interact and work with. So I'm always problem solving with different people.
Right.
And it's just when I realized that was like, oh boom, that's how I blew the lid off of it. And so now a lot of times in my life, like even time management, I look at it, I'm like, all right, like I got this rigid, like here's this guy that wrote this book, right? And it's a rigid program, and I gotta have a schedule every day, and then I'll do it for like 3 days. I'm like, fuck that.
Yeah,
like,
I can't do this shit.
Yeah.
Throw me in the deep end, I'll figure it out.
Right.
That's how I roll. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that was like key as an athlete was I found the program that worked for me the best, right? And I went I went to the source. You know, I didn't just learn it. I was like, okay, try the different stuff. This is the one that's working the best. All right, now I'm just going to move to Columbus, Ohio, and train with the guy that created this. And that was really the reason. Like, not many people do that. They constantly do these like 90-day tests where they do a program for 12 weeks and they say, oh yeah, what's the next fucking program?
Yeah.
And there's no shortcuts with it, you know.
What's funny is like people do that because they are looking for something like the conjugate system. So if they just do the conjugate system, they no longer need to look for a program like that because you don't have to change every 3 months. You're changing every microcycle, right?
Yeah. It's really weird when CrossFit came along. I was like, oh, this is like the conjugate of fitness. Like the reality, like conjugate really, like Westside is
let's
really
define it. What is conjugate?
It's just a framework, right? It's just a set of rules. You go. In reality, you go heavy twice a week, and you go light twice a week, and then in between you work on your fucking shittiest things. Yeah. Like that's what conjugate is. Everyone wants to define it by box squats and chains and bands and what. I'm like, that's semantics. We could never touch a weight and still train. Like we say, okay, max effort today. I'm going to go until I can't fucking go anymore, right? And do sprints. And then the other day's a long run. Like that's still conjugate. And I think that's like with CrossFit, that's why I got so excited when CrossFit came along. Like this is like MMA, like with a conjugate training system. I'm like, this makes total fucking sense. You know, while a lot of people in the powerlifting world who, you know, now they've kind of come into CrossFit because they see the money opportunity. In the beginning, like, this is the stupidest motherfucking shit I've ever seen. Like, these just fucking people acting like hamsters, running around like maniacs.
Gymnasts.
And I'm like,
actually, if you guys look at the true form runners, they do look like hamsters.
There's the hamsters, but they are some fine-looking hamsters. Like
that is true.
There's some jacked hamsters.
Muscle
out
hamsters.
There.
CrossFit has made a lot of good-looking men and especially the females.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate the bottom area. That they've encouraged the women to
keep squatting, ladies. Keep squatting.
No, that makes a lot of sense, man. Because even when CrossFit came out, CrossFit's still evolving, like everything else, right? But like, if you look at really high-level performing athletes, or even like regional athletes, they are training conjugate within the CrossFit framework, right? They're going to work on Olympic lifts 3 times a week. They're going to lift heavy once or twice a week, conditioning. They vary it so much.
What's really interesting is, like Louis' influence, one of them was the Bulgarian system, right? And the Bulgarians train 6 times a day, right? And they just train them.
I've done Bulgarian training for 3 months with a coach, and I'm like, F this, I can't take it.
But here's the thing, like the top athletes train like multiple times a day, right? That programming is impossible for a regular Joe, right? Yeah. So the conjugate system, and I've talked to Louis about this, and he says if you can max out more, you fucking max out more. It's like the problem is, and you look at the pool of powerlifters, right? Most powerlifters weren't the best athletes.
Right.
I happen to be a really fucking good athlete, hence I was a really fucking good powerlifter. Yeah. But if you look at the general powerlifting community, I mean, it's a lot of B and C students of sport, right? Yeah. Everyone else is, if they're good at fucking sports, they're out there playing fucking sports, right? Right. So with that in mind, like, you can't have a system that someone can't recover from. Because we're not like the Chinese where we just like at 12, like, you're done for life. Like, you suck. Like, you don't get to continue. Right. Like, we have a program over here.
We're going to take you from your family and isolate you in a room, and you train 3 times a day, and that's it. Yeah.
Over here, it's like you can just keep working out and competing until you're like 90, because it's like divisions and age groups and in every
Masters,
fucking sport. Like,
exactly.
Like, you got fucking people playing like flag football.
We're
like,
so inclusive here.
Yeah. So,
especially in Canada.
Everyone gets a trophy.
That's right. Participation.
Right.
That's good.
Which, in a sense, if we get into things, and James Fitzgerald is here. I was on a panel with him at Paleo FX last year, and that was one of the things we talked about. Like, really, is competition like important, or is it the fact of just participation, like the joy of sport, right?
Yeah.
But when we look at the training sense, like what top athletes do, you can't really do with a general pop.
No.
Right? When Louis started Conjugate, like, when he started applying these principles, he was taking from the very top people and was like, hey, I can't do Bulgarian because I fucking will die.
Yeah. And he broke his back.
And like, so he incorporated all these things and came up with a system that works for pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
Right? And then as he got more advanced athletes, and now, like, people move there, things tweak and change, and so that's when like crazy band tension comes in and stuff like that. But if you look at the framework of it, it's applicable to anyone. And that's why in CrossFit, for a long time, CrossFit was missing a framework, right? It was basically like, you go out, you go fucking ham, and then that's it. And then strength WODs, like, the strength portion came in before the WOD, like in a 1 hour class, right? Yeah. And then they're like, oh shit, like, people actually do need to do small group, muscle group stuff. So, they started buying bands and doing isolation exercises. And now you've got a program.
Bodybuilding.
It's basically a strength.
That's what you need to do,
to be good at CrossFit, you have to train for CrossFit, right?
Yeah.
Well, CrossFit, the competition, is a sport.
Right.
Like, if I'm an MMA fighter, my sport is punching someone else in the face. I'm not going 100% every day at getting punched.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Like, I'm sparring every day, but I'm not going 100%. And then outside of that, I'm training. Right. And I think that's where we've got where people realize, training is training. Right. It doesn't matter how you train.
It's not game time.
Yeah.
It's practice.
It's practice.
Yeah.
And that's
practice.
And we've got to that sophistication now in the sport. But we have to remember there's a vast difference in even the folks who are competing right in front of us here to the guy that just comes in and wants to train for 1 hour and get the fuck out of there because like they really hate working out, but this is the only kind they actually kind of enjoy while they're there because they're sadistic and they like to get fucked up. But outside of that, they don't want to think about it anymore. Like, I'm gonna go eat my fucking burger and I'll just have a lettuce wrap because I heard that's good, but I'm not gonna go grass fed because I don't give a shit about there's like levels of where people are at.
Exactly.
And that's what makes Conjugate so good in my mind is it's a percentage-based program.
So easy to adapt.
Right. So like RX makes no sense, right? Because RX, like, let's say we got deadlift 455 is RX, right? For a guy. 10 reps, 455. I think that's what came up in regionals, right? Yeah. Something like that. Well, that's great in competition, but in training, right? Your deadlift max is 500. My deadlift max is 700. Your deadlift max is 550.
Actually,
thanks.
It's bang on, right?
Right.
Holy shit.
but so RX 455. Well, that's a smaller percentage for me.
Right.
So guess what, motherfucker is not getting beat up today in training?
Exactly.
Me.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then we come back tomorrow.
Right.
And so what you have to do is say, okay, like, if we go percentage base, Now we do, let's say 50% of your max, 50% of my max, 50% of your max. Now we're even.
Right.
Now the true test of strength truly is whose endurance, whose fitness, who's fitter, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow when we come back and we have the next test, it's on even playing field again. That way it doesn't take you 6 minutes to finish a WOD and the other guy 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I love the conjugate system, because it's a framework, right? It's just a framework. And it's funny because I'm starting to see how that framework applies in my business now, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, shit. If I trained hard twice a week, and then I did 2 light days, and I did little things in between, what if I just fucking went like 2 days a week, was like balls to the fucking wall in my business, like get up fucking nonstop, boom, grind, hustle, stack fucking podcast interviews, stack work, boom, boom. And then there's 2 light days where it's like long days, but like light work. So research, reading, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then what if in between I just do a little bit?
Yeah.
Like
and
what
some
if I just
email
do
here and there.
like an email here and there, or you know, connect with this person.
Right.
How would that be? And I'm like, oh shit. Maybe I could have learned something here, because that's the way I worked so good. You know, I became a world record holder operating like that. Maybe if I did that in business, you know, I could build this empire that I envisioned.
Awesome. I love that. That's how I run my gym. I go 2 days really hard in the gym, and then I do a whole bunch of work in the middle in between. I do the programming and stuff on one day, and then the rest of the time, I spend time with my family, chill with my kids, hang out. So I love that.
Yeah.
So it's so smart. And with the conjugate system too, with the gyms, I've noticed that, like, for me, when I program for my gym, it's you adapt it to your athletes, right? So, like you said, RX. What is RX? I don't know. Like, no one knows what RX is. Like, we have RX competitions, but really, is that really RX? Like, my gym RX is very different from a different gym RX, right? If I'm training 40-year-olds, their RX will be very different than a competitive gym, right? So I love that approach. It's just so, like, fluid and easy to adapt to everybody.
Yeah, and I think that's the way you have to get to, like, there's some fun in being able to just roll dice or you know, grab a deck of cards and doing something random, right? There's a lot of fun in that, but I like that in competition, right? And you know, I kind of look at, like, adventure racing, obstacle racing is fucking huge now. It's like, I mean, that's the fastest growing sport by no doubt, right? But seriously, you're not doing an obstacle race every day.
You got to do other stuff,
right?
Yeah.
And so that's the closest thing I can think of where the problem is in weightlifting and powerlifting, in CrossFit, in any of these sports where you compete with the barbell, right? We start to go, well, we just train the same, we compete. No, you can't fucking max out every single week.
Well, I love you know Hayden by any chance? Hayden, Hybrid Performance.
Oh, okay.
D and Hayden had like a company, a nutrition company.
Yes, yeah.
Working against gravity.
Yeah.
That kid. So he's a strong ass little guy, right? And he started powerlifting now, and he's a weightlifter. But the way he trains is so different. Like he'll do a heavy lift once in a while. He'll do some snatch work, some clean work, do some shoulder raises, some barbell curls, some chin ups, some plank holds, and he's just constantly moving throughout the gym. But he looks like he's just chilling the whole time, right? And then he'll have like one really heavy day where he's like maxing out for 6. I'm like, it's retarded, right? So I love the way he trains. It's the exact same thing. So it's like super intelligent, and he's never hurt.
Yeah.
He's never hurt. He's winning competition. So
yeah, you know, it's funny when you look at some of these guys, and you guys can probably attest to this. Like the higher you get, like you get into flow where you actually kind of can tell what your body needs, right? So you don't need to worry about like, what am I going to do today? You show up to the gym and you're like, how do I feel?
And you go based on that, exactly.
Okay, today I'm going to max on a regular back squat.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm gonna be putting heavy fucking load on my body, right? It's probably the heaviest I can go. Like, so CNS fatigue, everything's gonna be peaked out. Another day I come in, I'm not feeling like 100%. I'm gonna do a front squat max. Now it's still a max, but it's 200 pounds less than what I had on my back. So it's even though it's a max, like in terms of the body, it's an easy max. Whereas if I have like certain numbers I gotta hit that day,
that stresses me out.
Like now you're like, oh shit, and then you're warming up. Oh, it feels fucking heavy.
Yeah.
Like you feel like a failure, right?
Yeah.
You feel like a failure, and so from a mental standpoint, you don't have a success that day.
Yeah.
Well, you start stacking failure upon failure. What do you think? Oh, I'm a failure.
You're gonna quit, man. You're gonna quit.
No motivation to keep going.
That consistency and intensity is gone.
Mini victories, right?
Yeah,
Mini fucking victories, like, and that's like so key is to win every fucking time you train. Like you don't want to be defeated by your workout. Like that's the worst fucking feeling. Like is to not be able to complete a workout. And so that's why, like, I like the just with anything, it's like you want to set yourself up to win more often than not.
Of course,
because if you go the other way, that's why, and I hear it in the language that people, they're like, oh fuck, I miss this. Every time I try this, I miss this. Like shit, like.
And that's, you know what, the average person, that's what stops them from coming into the gym is, I failed. Like an athlete, the elite athletes, they understand if they miss a lift, it's okay. They'll just come back tomorrow. They can plug away and they know what to fix. The average person, they walk out of there going, fuck, this was a shitty day for me. And just like you say, the mental understanding, of tone it back. You don't have to be a fucking gym star every day.
Well,
right?
you've competed in bodybuilding, right?
Me, no.
Oh.
That's not Fred.
Oh, okay. So,
he thought I show a picture of Fred. He thought you're Fred.
Yeah, I didn't hear you say a name. So, but you should.
Well, thank you.
But I'll share my point anyway.
Yeah.
So basically, like bodybuilders get on stage, right? You got to follow a really fucking strict diet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I stepped on stage, right? So I went through that. Was I 100% on my diet for 3 weeks? No, I fucked up.
Yeah.
And my diet coach put me back on track, and I did the things that were necessary, but I wasn't 100% fucking perfect, right? And I think that's the problem with most people. Like, they think success means 100% fucking perfect, and it doesn't exist. It doesn't fucking exist. And the minute they realize that every successful person just did it one more time than them, that is like so fucking freeing. And that's what I realize in business. So fucking lucky to hang out with the people I hang out with in business. $1 million business owners, a couple billionaires, and you start like hanging out with them. You're like, man, these people are pretty fucked up. Like, they're just normal fucking humans. You're like, oh shit, like I figured that this person would be a super genius or this or this, and they are in their fucking own little way. But just in that fucking little way, and everywhere else, they're fucked, right? And it's like, oh, thank God, like I don't have to be like this perfect person. And so like
you're good enough.
So it was funny with powerlifting, right? And I learned so many lessons that I haven't like really grasped. But one of the things is like if you're the strongest person in your gym, you're fucked. You're fucked. Because your reality is you're the strongest fucking person. Yeah. Right? When I moved to Westside, I had a 10-10 squat, right? I was the weakest motherfucker in my group. Like, your reality gets shifted.
1,000 pounds squat.
You're like, how can this be? What the fuck?
Your fucking reality gets shifted, right? So think about it. Like, if you, in your own little world, you're the very best at whatever it is you do. Like, if you've got the best relationship between your friends, you're like, fuck, we're floating at a 10. And then you go hang out with someone who's like, you're like watching them and like their wife's all over them all the fucking time. They're acting like school kids. You're like, whoa, shit, those two are really in love. You're like, fuck that. Like, oh shit, now I'm like at a 6. Right? And so and I'm like, oh, the key is getting around people better than you constantly because they fucking pull you up.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
fucking pull you up, and they're
not crabs in the bucket.
Yeah, like, and that's the biggest thing that people like. Their reality can shift in a moment by getting around people who are succeeding, because all of a sudden they start to see like there's patterns. But more so than that, like one of the biggest things is, oh shit, we're all the same. Like everyone thinks they're alone. Everyone thinks that they're the only one who fucks up. Everyone thinks that they're the only one who has secret failures that like they didn't share.
Right.
It's like, no, like it's. I just interviewed a guy and he said something so powerful. He's like, I hate fucking people calling shit failures. He's like, it's not a failure, it's a lesson. You just learn learn a lesson.
Yeah.
It's like, that's how you win, is by losing. There's no Super Bowl team that goes undefeated anymore, right?
It's only a failure if you don't learn the lesson.
That's exactly it. It's a waste. It's a waste of time that way.
There's no NBA team that goes unbeaten the entire season. In baseball, holy shit, like you barely have to win, right? Yeah. So like you look at
Jays.
You look in the sporting world, it's like perfect doesn't exist, and when it happens, it's a fucking unicorn, right? Yeah. It's a unicorn. It's like 50 years since this has happened.
And if you look at that, those instances when it does happen, it's because they've had such a long stretch of failures or learning experiences to build on, right? So
and I mean, Rich Fronen's a great example. The dude couldn't climb a fucking rope in 2010.
Well, that's because his dad told him that if you use your legs, you're a pussy. So then it was actually his dad's fault. I'm sticking up for Rich. Yeah,
but what my point is like no one remembers that shit now. I remember because I was there and like I'm like, oh shit, and then the dude came back like. Literally, that was probably the best fucking thing that ever happened to him, because it probably was the point. He goes, you know what?
So hungry.
That was so fucking embarrassing. Yeah. There's never going to be a movement I can't fucking do.
Yeah.
And he's basically since then done this to everyone else.
Yeah.
Like everyone else. And just I watched him at regionals. Like his team was, I think, like they were way back in the last event.
Yeah.
And he almost like single-handedly caught up with everyone.
With
and
the barbell,
I watched the speed that he moved through. I would say that if he wanted to, he could easily win the Open again. I just watching him. Fraser's pretty dominant this year. I'll be honest. I think Fraser actually believes he can win now. So I predict he'll probably win just because he has the belief now, and you can see the shift in his attitude. But Rich is still so dominant that the dude is a threat 24/7. And it all happened on the back of him falling off of off of a rope.
Yeah, it's true. And growing up, he was saying that he used to get his ass kicked all the time by his cousins. Yeah. So he used to get beat up all the time. So that's what made him so damn tough. All those failures, right, made him the man he was today. So that's awesome, man.
Yeah, I think people don't realize that the struggles are actually blessings, right? Yeah. And you should our emotions are how we process that. So something bad happens and we get all emotional and we're like, this sucks. Versus if you flipped it and goes, oh shit, something amazing is about to happen. Now you'd be like, bring it on, world. Throw the worst you got at me, because I know on the backside I'm gonna grow, I'm gonna expand. And that's you hear those stories of people who have gone from nothing to greatness. I mean, I remember listening to a guy, I wish I could remember his name. He's sponsored by Epic bars, and he's a ultra marathon runner.
Okay.
The dude used to be a drug addict.
Yeah.
He started running so he wouldn't take drugs, and now he's a world champion ultra marathon runner. You hear people who've gone from broke to millionaires. That's the kind of stuff that it's like
Derek Johnson. We had Derek Johnson on.
Yep.
He was broke as hell.
Right, and so it's like your power is your past.
But you know what? Everyone and we think about it as kids. A kid falls off of a bike. They're learning how to ride a bike. They fall off. Oh, what do you say? Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and get on that bike again. As adults, we're fucking pussies. We're like, oh, I lost all my money. Oh, feel bad for me. No, pick yourself up, learn from those experiences, and move on, right? And it's so weird. As we get older, we can't follow those simple things, right?
It's like we get trapped, right?
Yeah.
And the universe keeps giving us fucking lessons. It's like, I'm going to punch you in the face until you figure out how to get over yourself. Yeah. And the same thing happens over and over and over again until you change your story and change your
also
pattern.
think it's our culture, too. A culture embraces a culture of mediocrity and comfort and, you know what I mean, entitlement. And when people go to the struggles, I'm like, why me? Why do I deserve this, right?
You could argue that that's manufactured, right? You could argue that if free thinking was as free as it is, the world would be a dangerous place. And so I think that's the thing you're up against. Is you're up against society, you're up against a culture that is conditioned and led to be conditioned a certain way. And if you want to do yourself a favor, just stop watching news for a month.
I haven't watched news forever.
I watch news every day though.
Stop watching it.
Watch that shit.
And then watch it. All of a sudden you're like, whoa, what the fuck?
It's so depressing.
You're like, the world is gonna end tomorrow. You're like,
there's
oh
nothing good
shit.
with news.
I was watching news at one point. I got looking into politics and stuff, so watching news. And after a month of watching news, I actually felt like I had anxiety and I felt angry. Yeah. And I was like, I can't listen to the radio on news. I can't do anything. I'm like, this is too much.
Must have been watching CNN.
That's
I don't know.
Switch the channel. But that's the thing, and what's crazy, even when you go to Comedy Central now, a lot of people, that's where they get their news from, and that's comedy. It's completely biased to one way. Anyway, it's probably more truth than
you're gonna find
the news. However, it's still fucking comedy, right? And so they're gonna turn and spin everything into something. And so it's just crazy because when we allow that stuff in our lives, right? Toxicity into our lives, and we'll do it in relationships, we'll do it in the media we put in, the things we consume and buy, right? When we do that, all of a sudden
it shapes us.
And so we get stuck because we start to tell ourselves, I'm past hope. There's no hope for me. I'm old. I've got kids now, so they come first. It's no,
that's the worst excuse I've ever heard.
You want to be the best parent you can be. You show up as the example you want. You want to be your kid's hero. If your kid doesn't look at you as their hero, then you're failing as a parent, right? And so, and then I'm not saying you should just be working
moms,
all the time.
No offense to moms out there, but moms who breastfeed till their kids are 3 years old. Because it's for them. It's not for the kids. Kids don't give a shit.
Yeah, kids I can eat regular food now. I'm good.
No, so we're gonna wrap this up. We're running out of time here. But dude, thanks so much for being on the show.
My pleasure.
Anything you want to plug or say or?
If you want to keep up with me, just head to ajroberts.com or head over to my Facebook, AJ Roberts.
Perfect. And hats are in.
And new shirts.
SnatchesandScotch.com. All right. See y'all.
Peace.